music was necessary for social bonding amongst human groups. So when we make music together, we're synchronizing our movements. We're moving at precisely the same time because of this external rhythm of the music. And that leads us to feel more similar to one another. It leads us to trust each other. And we become a more cohesive, cooperative group, which makes sense because working cooperatively was necessary for our tribe survival.
But, you know, for some people it might be scary to join something like a choir. It might be nerve-wracking. They might not know what to do.
Put people in a room together and tell them to make friends. That's really hard and very scary for a lot of people.
I'm
But if you
people.
get them to, yeah, I'm people too. It is scary. But if you get people to sing together first, and it helps them to feel calm and it helps them to feel open socially and feeling connected, like what I was talking about earlier. You know, the other thing that we hear all the time is people saying like, oh, not me, I don't sing, or I'm not a singer. And there's reasons for that, right? Like
Yep.
people think that if they're not like Celine Dion, then singing is not for them, that they're not allowed to access that. But our bodies are built for singing, and everybody can do it if we have a different mindset of participation rather than performance.
Anyone watching this can take away from that story that, you know, just because something happens and things change, it does not mean that you can't go forth with the things you want to do or the things you love to do, that you can find a way. It might not look the same as it would have previously, but it is possible.
Another episode of the Speak Real podcast, sharing one-on-one conversations. We believe that storytelling is the best way to empower youth and give them the platform to find their voices.
Presented by YouthSpeak. Youth experience, youth voice, youth empowered.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Speak Real podcast with YouthSpeak. My name is Carson. I am a facilitator and speaker with YouthSpeak, and I'm your host today. Before we jump into this, we want to give a massive thank you to TD for partnering with us with our content with IG Lives and podcasts. Now, I'm going to introduce today's guest, who is not only a doctor, she's a research associate with TMU, Toronto Metropolitan University, and a psychology researcher for the SingWell Project. So I'm so excited to invite Dr. Arla Good here today. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. I'm so happy to be here, Carson.
I'm so happy to have you here. And we're going to jump right into it with a question about music. So we talk about music as a tool for coping a lot here at YouthSpeak. It's something we bring up pretty often. The thing with choirs is it's not only a way to enjoy and create music, but it's also a great way to connect with others. Could you speak on that?
Absolutely. I mean, how deep do you want me to go? So
As deep as you want to go.
One of my main areas of research is delving into this environmental sort of perspective of music psychology. So why music is so prevalent around the world throughout history. So there's evidence of music making like up to 35,000 years ago. There's this bone flute. You should check it out. Just Google bone flute. Music is so deeply human. And so I'm really interested in why. And the evolutionary perspective that I'm talking about here is that music was necessary for social bonding amongst human groups. So when we make music together, we're synchronizing our movements. We're moving at precisely the same time because of this external rhythm of the music. And that leads us to feel more similar to one another. It leads us to trust each other. And we become a more cohesive, cooperative group, which makes sense because working cooperatively was necessary for our tribe survival.
Right.
So something really special is happening in us when we sing together. We're connecting with each other. This feeling of, I don't know where I end and you begin. We often use the analogy of bees in a beehive. So all of the bees are, you know, there's individual bees in there, but they're working together for the hive. And that's kind of what's happening when
I like that analogy with bees because they buzz, you know? I mean, I personally dislike bees buzzing. It makes my ears like want to like, I don't know.
swap
They
them
bother me.
away.
They bother me. But like given that like connection, it's like, oh, that's actually kind of wholesome.
It's quite remarkable. And so we've been developing what we're calling the bread and butter theory, and we haven't published anything on this yet, but I'm going to give you a little sneak peek about what that is.
Ooh, you
So
speak exclusive.
you put people in a room together and tell them to make friends. That's really hard and very scary for a lot of people.
I'm
But if you
people.
get them to, yeah, I'm people too. It is scary. But if you get people to sing together first, and it helps them to feel calm, and it helps them to feel open socially and feeling connected, like what I was talking about earlier. So we call it the bread and butter theory because the bread is the friendship, the sustenance, right? The conversations, but the singing together is the butter and what makes the bread more delicious and makes it easier to eat. So that's the way we're conceptualizing singing, that it's the singing is helping to develop the friendships, and it's helping people to feel connected by enabling you to eat more bread.
Interesting. I like that analogy a lot. And you said you were working towards this. This would be the SingWell Project. So could you tell us a bit about the SingWell Project?
SingWell is an international network of researchers, non-governmental organizations and associations, practitioners, community choirs, and we're all working together with the same mission, which is to understand, inform, and inspire choirs for individuals living with communication challenges. So right now our focus is communication challenges. So we're interested in mostly older adults, and people who have disorders like Parkinson's or aphasia that makes communicating challenging. And we look at how singing can support both their communication function, but also their sense of belonging and social well-being, and psychological well-being by singing in a group.
Wow, that's really interesting. Especially the working with people with aphasia. I kind of learned a little bit about this when I forget his name. A famous actor was diagnosed with it and then was diagnosed with dementia
Bruce
later on.
Willis.
Bruce
Yeah,
Willis.
that's
Yes,
right.
that's his
He's
name.
really putting aphasia into the mainstream, which
He
is
really
great for
is.
SingWell.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
really is. And what's interesting to me about that is, um, also working with Parkinson's, and I'm assuming other people diagnosed with different disorders along those lines, is I've noticed certain things that do help them. Music is definitely one of those things that can be very grounding, especially with people with Alzheimer's. I've seen that personally through my own experiences. So that is quite an interesting way field to study. And like I can't imagine how much information and like just life experience you can gain from that sort of thing. I think that's really cool. So you mentioned the bread and butter theory and all of that. But for some people it might be scary to join something like a choir. It might be nerve-wracking. They might not know what to do. So do you have any advice about starting or joining a choir for anyone who might be listening?
Yeah, I mean, not going to be surprising advice. It's going to be just go, just try it out. We've heard it's like jumping into a pool of cold water. It's scary to do, but once you're in, it feels so good. So the other thing that we hear all the time is people saying like, "Oh, not me, I don't sing," or "I'm not a singer," and there's reasons for that, right? Like,
Yep.
people think that if they're not like Celine Dion, then singing is not for them, that they're not allowed to access that. But our bodies are built for singing, and everybody can do it if we have a different mindset of participation rather than performance. And
Yeah.
so with SingWell, it's much more about just come, show up, do what you can, be the best you can be, and then you go home feeling better than you came. So it's not about performance or hitting the notes exactly right or sounding like Celine Dion. It's about coming and having a good time. It's community oriented, it's inclusive, and just show up and see how it feels. And if it's not the right
Yeah.
group for you, try another group somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's a really good point to mention. This is actually something I tell people a lot, where I say, or someone says they can't sing or something, and I'm like, well, what do you mean? You and it's usually after they have sung. When they say that, they usually mean they don't have a good voice, and I just go, what do you mean? You just sung right there. You did it.
Right.
And like my favorite thing is to compliment people's singing voice, because I think more people can sing than they want to give themselves credit for. And like my favorite quote is, I've only come across like a few bad singers in my day, and if they are actually bad singers, I don't say anything. Like,
Right.
that's how you know.
There's
So
actually like it's the stat I believe is 1% of the population actually truly cannot learn how to sing.
Yeah.
They're actually toned, but
And
everybody else can do it and can show up and have a good time and learn how to be better at finding the right notes. And the nice thing about choir is you can blend, right? You don't have to
oh
stand out.
yeah. I love that aspect of choir. As a loud singer myself, I usually like kind of covered for all the shy singers. So
You got to
um
have one in every group,
yeah,
somebody who can hold
yeah.
it together.
Oh yeah, I'm technically a first and second soprano, but
Oh.
because of how many sopranos were shy, I got put with the firsts. True story. So we did talk a bit about Alzheimer's and aphasia, and other disabilities. So like there are often barriers in accessing social activities for people with disabilities. How do you envision that changing?
There's different types of disabilities that will require different accommodations, right? So what we work with at SingWell is mostly communication difficulties and that kind of disability, where we're actually trying to break down the stigma, where one might think that having this disorder might exclude them from being able to participate in singing, but actually we think it's more important for them than ever to be singing, to be using their voice, to be strengthening their voice. In terms of physical disabilities, so we also see this a lot because we're working with older adults. And one way that it's changing is that the technology is getting better. And so at SingWell, we've been working with a virtual program. It's a low latency program called Jack Trip. It's developed by a team of researchers at Stanford.
Ooh.
And you used to have to buy this external hardware, but they've actually developed in the last year a software. We haven't tried it out yet, but ideal, especially for older adults who have difficulty with technology. There's
Yeah.
a downloadable program that allows you to sing in near zero latency. So they liken it to being on separate ends of the same stage. And all the singers can actually be virtual, using Zoom to see each other and then hearing like you're all in the same room, which is
Wow.
really remarkable. And we're running research studies on that now, just to see if we're getting the same kind of social benefits and mood boosts from singing virtually. And what I can share is that it's better than nothing, right? Because we see things, so, people with disabilities, people living in rural environments who have less access to social programming, global pandemics that might prevent people from getting together to sing. There's lots of reasons why group singing might not be accessible. And so technology like this is opening doors for us to be able to continue connecting through the tool like singing.
Right. That's really interesting. I did not know about this Stanford software either, but like the fact that they could make it seem like, you're in the same room as someone audit with an audio, that that is definitely like something I couldn't imagine a few years ago being existing, especially with the way technology can work, like especially with how we even record these things, sometimes there could be some audio mess ups and um the the way that technology has grown to accommodate for people of various disabilities is something I've always been very interested in and see a lot of benefit towards looking into. But kind of to steer away a little bit from Singwell in particular, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your favorite feel good song?
Myself. So, my background is in psychology. Um, and as a music enthusiast, I found myself in a music cognition lab during my graduate studies. I was studying things like vibrotactile music for deaf people, so how we can bring music to an audience that has trouble hearing. I looked at using song to support foreign language learning and how you can use singing for remembering vocabulary. And so lots of different questions like that. And other music cognition questions that are in our smart lab. You can check it out. I don't know if you'll be providing any listeners with links, but you should check out the smart lab at Toronto Metropolitan University for lots of other interesting music cognition research questions.
In the description.
Great. So that's a little bit about me and my professional background. My favorite feel good song, that's a really hard one because it depends on my mood. And there's certain songs that feel so good at one time and then another song that'll feel so right at another time. But a song that like without fail gets me going is I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston.
Oh, I love that song. Ah.
It just like it gets me going. I just feel so it just yeah, that's the
I
one I'll
love
have to
that
go with.
song. I always hear it and just go, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can't not want to like at least like, shuffle a little bit when you hear it. It's like such a good song, and Whitney is such a talented, or was such a talented artist. Um, Gotta love her for that. Back on track with the psychology research. Do you have any
Mhm.
tips for youth who are interested in psychology research?
Yeah, I mean, start volunteering in a lab. Go check out what is actually happening in these labs, see how they do things, see what it's really like to be working in a psychology lab, sort of strip it of its romance, get into the nitty gritty of actually doing research,
Mm-hmm.
and the joys of discovering, and get involved in research projects. And feel free to reach out to me. I hope in the description will also be my email, so people can reach out to me if they have questions.
Sure, we could put your email in the description. So yeah, if you want to reach out to Dr. Arla Good for more information on that, check out the description. I actually know someone who's studied psychology in post-secondary talking about labs, and I can say there is a lot more to it than people really want to acknowledge. Like the different programs that you guys use. Like my brain just went like, that meme of the math symbols lying around? When my friend was trying to explain these algorithms to me, I was so confused.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a
Yeah,
lot.
there's a lot of different niches, you can get involved in, but you don't have to be in, a math stream or yeah, you can
Yeah.
find what works for you and really get excited about your research and be passionate about the questions that you're asking. And that's what's going to keep you going in a psychology field.
Oh, for sure. I can imagine that there's so much there, even from the little bit that I've seen of it. There's a lot where you can like jump in and look at things. Do you have an impact story that you can share? This could be about someone working alongside the SingWell Project who might have had an impact, or someone who you've worked with at TMU. It could be either thing, but like someone who's had an impact based off the work surround that you do, or with SingWell in particular.
I mean, I feel so lucky to be in the doing the work that I do because I see impact in so many different ways on so many different people every day.
Mhm.
It's really amazing, and people are not shy to reach out after participating in choir to share their experiences. So I feel like we could do a whole interview on that. But one of our favorite stories to share, it's a gentleman that sings with us in our aphasia choir. And he was a professional singer throughout his life, a performer, and he has lived quite a life. But then in his 70s, he had a stroke, and he got aphasia, and his voice changed, and he was not able to sing even close to how he was singing before. And that's really challenging to your identity, right? Like
Yeah.
if you identified as a singer and then all of a sudden you can't sing the way you used to be able to, it's a really tough thing to process and to accept in your life. And so he was working in this aphasia program that we started a choir in, and we introduced the idea of the choir, and he says like, no way, like I was a professional singer and I don't do that, I can't do that anymore. um, but somehow he got convinced to try the jump into the pool, right? Like you just jump in and see what happens.
Yeah, come on, jump
And
in.
jump in. And he did. And yada yada yada. He had the best time. And he's actually become one of our cheerleaders. And he's the one setting up the next semester of choir. He's named the choir. He's convincing all of his peers to join the choir. And he is the face of the choir now. And so it's so special to see somebody reconnect with the joy of singing, even though it didn't sound like it used to, even though he's not, at a performance level anymore, that he can still tap into that joy of what it is to be human and what it is to participate in music. So we really love that story to share.
I'm sorry, I'm such a Cancer. I want to cry. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
I cannot. That is an amazing impact story. I think it's one of my favorites I've heard so far. Just seeing someone come back from something like a stroke to something that they loved, that they felt like they couldn't do anymore. I'm probably going to edit this piece out of it, but it's actually like, you can't really tell here, but my thing, when I usually am on my account, I say any pronouns. I'm trans non-binary. And the reason I didn't go forth with certain treatments for that was because I didn't want my voice to change. It's one of the few things I don't have dysphoria with. So I really can resonate with the idea of like, oh, this person feels like their voice is just gone, that they can't really sing or do things the same way anymore, and they have to relearn it. And that struggle, that's something I can really understand and resonate with. So that was such a great story.
I'm glad it resonated. Thanks.
Yeah, it really resonated with me. And I think that that's wonderful to share. And hopefully anyone watching this can take away from that story that, just because something happens and things change, it does not mean that you can't go forth with the things you want to do or the things you love to do, that you can find a way. It might not look the same as it would have previously, but it is possible.
We should hire you. You're a good spokesperson.
I mean, that's my job, really. I mean, I am a youth facilitator.
Great.
It's what we do.
do.
On that note, I'm going to end with one last question. Other than the websites that you've shared, is there any other ways that people can reach out to you? Any other links you want to share with us before we close off that we can put in the description?
For sure. I mean, please share my email if folks want to get in touch and ask questions about getting involved in psychology. I would be happy to answer. SingWell has all the different social medias. So there's a Facebook, there's a Twitter, there's an Instagram. We're building it right now. It's a work in progress, as is our TikTok, a work in progress. So I can provide all of those links for you to share with your community, and also the Smart Lab. If there's other music cognition questions that people are interested in, then people should check out what's going on in the Smart Lab.
Awesome. Dr. Arla Good, thank you so much for joining us, taking time away from your day and being in Costa Rica, enjoying the sun. I really appreciate it. And before we close off, again, thank you to TD for sponsoring our episodes. And with that, I'm going to sign off here. Have a wonderful rest of your week, everybody, and take care.
If you want to hear more stories, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. To support more youth by youth-led projects, visit us at youthspeak.ca, where you can donate and spread youth mental health awareness.
YouthSpeak charity. Speak, inspire, change.